Thank you very much, Dr. Wahala, for accepting our invitation, and it's your very busy schedule. And we used to have this program at 7 p.m., 1 hour program, but today we have advanced it to 6:30 p.m. for the benefit of our colleagues from APRSCP. Hope they will join. And the session is 1 hour session starting at 6:30 and ending at 7:30. And the presenter will have 40 minutes of time to make the presentation and the balance 20 minutes for the question. So with this little background, let me now invite Professor Parakrama Karunaratne, who has invited Dr. Wahala to make this presentation, to introduce him formally to begin the session. Professor Karu.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Senanayaka. Good evening to everyone. So I consider it as a pleasure to introduce Dr. Wahala, with whom I have worked maybe one decade or so. So let me introduce Dr. Wahala formally, because this is a kind of formal presentation that we are having. So Dr. Sampath Wahala is a senior lecturer of the Department of Tourism Management, Faculty of Management Studies, Sabaragama University of Sri Lanka. He holds a PhD in the field of forestry and environmental management and has more than 15 years of experience as a lecturer in environmental management, carbon footprint, and life cycle assessment. He is a greenhouse gas verifier for ISO 14064-1, 64-2, and is trained on clean development mechanism. He is a chartered member of the Institute of Environmental Professionals Sri Lanka, life member of the Institute of Biology, member of National Mirror Committee on ISO Technical Committee 207 or 207, life member of Sri Lanka Association for the Advancement of Science. His research interests include, but not limited to, forest carbon sequestration, industrial ecology, life cycle assessment, water and carbon footprint estimation. So presently, Dr. Wahala is serving as the chairman of the Governing Council of the Sri Lankan Accreditation Board for the Conformity Assessment. So fittingly, today his presentation is on standardization and certification, a key element of SCP. So let me now invite Dr. Wahala to do his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me share my presentation. Hope you all can hear me.
Yes.
Yes.
First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to this forum to share some of my thoughts. In here, we know that expert, eminent people on sustainable consumption and production in Sri Lanka. So some of you are pioneered to introduce the concept on this sustainable consumption and production. So today, without taking much time, actually, I have proposed a title. Slightly, the title what I have proposed is not directly linked with what I'm going to do. However, I try my best to give some of my thoughts on how the standardization or standards or standardization approach can support to promote sustainable consumption and production, specifically in Sri Lankan context. So with that, I have actually, when I structure the presentation, I thought of looking at the national policy on sustainable consumption and production of Sri Lanka, actually very well structured, very comprehensive policy, I would say. And also I thought of connecting. So if you look at the SAP policy, so they have very clearly identified the area that we need to touch upon in sustainable consumption and production aspect, and also to promote consumption aspect, which will support the consumption, which will support the industries to come up with more sustainable production or the product or a service. And also, I'm not going to go through this each and every the point here given in the policy statement as it is, but I'm really interested on the final point, the guard against the rebound effect, where efficiency gains are cancelled out by the resulting increase in the consumption. So this is one of the issue, but personally I have seen in promoting sustainable production and also sustainable consumption. However, whatever things so this is kind of economic driven the society. So the demand is supplied by the production. So the production is always linked with the nature, with the material flows and energy flows and all other flows. And the consumption is driven by the different other the drivers. So sometimes if we promote, actually the best thing that regarding this fourth one, the not promoting consumption is the best for the sustainable consumption. So however, when we promote consumption patterns, so with the label of sustainable consumption, so sometimes we have seen that that will create some kind of a the influence on more production, again that will lead to unsustainability. However, so that is something the different area of that we have to discuss. What I did was to connect with this the standardization or standards we are familiar with, that is linked with the consumption. So the consumers see standards, labels, standardization, those type of things. So somewhat the producers or the industries are trying to come up with some kind of a concept of standardization from a different the point of view, with the different purposes. So what I did was actually I have gone through the policy, and it in this policy it has very clearly identified the trust areas, trust themes, covering three main environment the components, that is air, water, sanitation, and energy, and also waste. I have put numbers referring to these 10 components, and also it covers the 6 economic sectors, covering focusing on industry generally, food, building and construction, transportation, tourism, and health. And also there are some other the cross-cutting the policy that is linked with this the key or the thrust themes, which are covered in this sustainable consumption and production policy. What I did was actually in generally the sustainable consumption and production, we all are familiar with the concept sustainable and production and consumption. If you look at some of the components, we have to identify what are the components that we have to address with the consumption area, and what are the component that we have to address under the production. So sometimes we cannot have very clear cut differentiation between this production component and the consumption component. However, if you look at this sustainable consumption and production, if you take a design for sustainability or D4S, D4X, or D4E, whatever thing, so directly linked with we feel that it's linked with the production. But however, so again, that the initiatives or the driving force is based on the consumption pattern. So if you, technically speaking, if we look at product design and development, so the customer feedback is a key. So the customer requirement is something else, but the sustainable consumption is sometimes something different. So therefore, so when we look at these production and consumption areas, it's very difficult to the idea to me to separate it out. This is production and this consumption is very difficult. However, all these areas, if I take eco-labeling or the certification, that is actually the front end of the customers. So the consumer see this. So behind, there are a lot of processes to come up with this, whatever the labeling. So the understanding about the label and the behind thing on sustainability is again linked with the production process, and also the understanding or the knowledge that they gain by the consumer from the different the media. I mean, the different section on the consumption pattern is something different. If you look at the consumers, if you are going to aware about the consumers on eco-labeling, so that is something different approach. Are we going to aware about them on the eco-labeling? Then that is again the promoting somewhat of the consumption. And however, so the behind the process, the behind the eco label has to be, we have to be very serious on really it reflects what we see or what we show to the consumer, with the awareness that we create about the sustainable consumption pattern of consumers. So likewise, we have to think in a different way on this sustainable consumption and production. And when we look at this, the linking that standardization on this, the sustainable consumption and production. So very quick background on the well-known ISO, National Standard Organization for Standardization. So what I have focused, and I am in this presentation, I'm biased on ISO related standards. However, in sometimes I have included some of the components not related to ISO when you talk about the standardization, the context. So what I have, why I have selected this ISO thing, and why I biased on this ISO standardization standards, because we all know that simply we can say that it's kind of the think tank or the expert, the expertise team, those who are working on different types of issues that we encountered globally. If you look at the structure of International Standard Organization, we know that it's based on Geneva, Switzerland. ISO is an independent, non-governmental international organization with membership of up to now 166 nations, national standards bodies. Through the membership, so basically it brings together experts. That is important and key advantage of or the key feature of this ISO standard organization. With what I see and what I feel, it's some of my experience. Actually, I may not the best person to speak about that the standardization and ISO thing, because SLS, they are the key people, those who can talk about the standardization and standards. So however, with my experience in working for the last couple of years on one technical standard committee, representing Sri Lanka Mirror Committee and also engaging with the developing and reviewing on some of the standards. So I feel that I can explain some of the areas and I can do something when we discuss about the ISO things and the ISO structure. I think that I have some experience and to with my the work that we have I have engaged, so I can do some something best to this presentation. So through its membership, it brings together experts to share knowledge and develop voluntary, consensus-based, market-relevant international standards that support innovation of providing solution to global changes. Now, if you look at the structure, so all these 166 countries, they have mirror committees working on emerging areas. So with that mirror committees, the best expertise are engaging. So if you look at the standard development process, I think millions of man hours, expert man hours are invested on to produce all these standards of more than 21,000 or closer to 22,000 of standards covering a lot of areas. So if you look at the member bodies, Sri Lanka Standard Institution is here, Sri Lanka representing the ISO. And I think by now there are about 86 the committees are representing as member bodies, and closer to 126 committees are representing as observing the country. So that is one thing. And if you look at the vision and mission, so making lives easier, safe and better, because if you look at the sustainable and consumption and production, so underlying objective of SCP is also making lives easier, safe and better, and safe from environment and safe from other. So therefore, so when we look at some of the areas they have working on are obviously linked with some of the areas with the sustainable consumption and production that what we are talking. Mission through the membership of their stakeholders, we bring people together to agree on international standards that respond to the global challenges. ISO standards support global trade, drive inclusive and equitable economic growth, advance innovation, and promote health and safety to achieve the sustainable future. So in their missions, actually, this I have taken from their 2030 the strategy. So they have identified the sustainable future in every aspect is a key. So therefore, I feel that the ISO standards and the approach that they working towards the issue, addressing issues as international standard organization are support the SCP that what we are talking here. Therefore, so taking focusing on the being biased to ISO standards as the voluntary standards. Most of the standards are voluntary standards. So I think that we can have a good understanding and good support to drive SCP on different areas. So generally, goals, they are standard use everywhere. That is one area. So ISO standard used everywhere. So all the 166 countries, they have to approve, or majority has to be approved the standard that they develop with the technical expertise. So that is why they always try to standard to promote. They develop standards. The use of standards is the rest of the people's duty. the effort that they have gone put to develop some standards, we have seen that when you look at some of the ISO portals and the ISO surveys, so the penetration of the concept and the standard that they have developed is not to the level what they expected. So that's why they have actually identified for the 2030 to standard use has to be improved, and also addressing the meeting the global needs, and also to respond to all the voices. That mean all the developed countries or developing countries. So the equally cater when they develop or equally treated when they develop internationally recognized standards. So that these are the key areas. However, to achieve these goals, they have a plan and they are working on towards that. So if you look at the governance structure, so just to get some understanding about how these standards are coming into the picture, technical committees are there. This is the key area where these standards are developing. So presently, there are 13 technical sectors. If you look at these 13 technical sectors, I have actually mapped the component, the thematic area identified in Sri Lanka Sustainable Consumption and Production Policy. These 13 technical sectors, the food and agriculture, chemicals, building and construction, business management and innovation, energy, sustainability and environment, and health, medicine, horizontal subjects, information technology, mechanical engineering, non-metallic materials, ores and metals, freight, packaging and distribution, security, safety, risk, services, special technologies, transport. These are the key the technical sectors that they have identified. Under these technical sectors, there are by now 256 technical committees. Technical committees, in some technical committees, they have national mirror committees in other the member organization, the countries. So together, when they develop the standards, together they come up with new standards, or they revise existing the standard, looking at the current demand. If you look at this mapping of the trust themes, sustainability and environment area. So if you look at this air, water, and the waste is the areas that covered in the SCP, and so almost all the trust area are covering in one or few technical sectors. If you go through the detail of some of the standard number of standards that they have published, and also this ISO is already mapped their standards with sustainable development goals. So if you look at these 17 sustainable development goals, the goal number 9 is having direct or indirect link with 12,680 standards. If you take goal number 12, which is responsible consumption and production, so there are about actually exactly 2,595 standards directly or indirectly linked with this sustainable development goals to achieve, or directly or indirectly support to achieve sustainable development goals, especially on the goal number 12. And also there are some connections, linkages with other standards. Therefore, if you look at in generally sustainable consumption and production related standards to support sustainable consumption and production. There are more than closer to 8,000 standards are there. So, so therefore, there are a lot of standards in this presentation. Actually, I'm not going to go through the each and every standard, but I will give you a very generic idea where the standards are linking with the different components of sustainable consumption and production. So, according to our national policy on sustainable consumption and production, the first environment area is the air, clean air. The policy statement is the clean air for a healthy nation. So if you look at this, the policy statements, there are three key statements there that introduce emission reduction and pollution control measures for all economic activities: building, construction, transportation, industry, energy generation, land use, agriculture, and these type of thing, and also introduce a system for the surveillance of ambient air quality, and also create public awareness of environment impact of air pollution related thing. So if you look at the general backgrounds, there are about more than 92% of world population breathe polluted air, so 8 million deaths a year. So these are some of the issues that we have. Standard institution, they have identified the standardization of measurements method is important to have consistent assessment of air quality across the world. So with that team, they have come up with different technical committees to understand, to come up with a standard which is required to standardize the measurement of air quality in the different areas. So this is actually 2020 air quality map according to IQ Air portal. So a few, because harmonized, standardized approach will support us to come up with this type of map. So otherwise, if we don't have a standardized approach to measure the air quality or whatever thing, so we cannot have some kind of common understanding on something. So that will support to monitor SDG related some of the goals in the globally, the national wide, compared to the different nations. So in Sri Lankan context, I'm not going to go through this. We know that the transportation related emission is there, and also the missing part is actually this is bit old information. In one paper, I have got this information. There are about 4,300 people died from indoor air pollution in 2004. So this is bit neglected. We have regulation. We have standard air quality standard by the regulatory agency, Central Environment Authority, according to National Environment Act. We have regulations, but if you look at the consumption end, the consumers end, for industries, yes, we have regulations. We can control emissions. When the transport mode, if you look at these the emission related transportation, at least we have some kind of approaches to control the emissions. But if you look at the issues related to air from the consumer's end, so we have not actually given much attention. So if you look at the indoor air pollution, actually, so I have taken this. This is not because of a very serious. Yes, it's a serious issue, but this is not the issue on air quality. But in our general understanding, we have the more understanding on the air quality related issues in other end. But I wanted to, I thought of taking out this type of issue to give you attention. And also because if you look at some of the standards, they have come up with approaches to address some of the things. So probably you have seen this type of images from the social media. This is actually a free offering of breathing, good quality breathing air. So we we should not wish to have this type of offering in Sri Lanka. And also smiling with breathing oxygen canister, oxygen, and now it's oxygen also marketed. Actually, this is not because of the COVID. We have a standard on producing this type of oxygen. Yes, production standards are there. Some ISO related standards are there on the production of these type of commodities. Now oxygen became a commodity. So what so consumer, the people can market probably kind of if you look at the health, the good air or whatever, the producer can market this type of thing. The consumer also getting into that because of we always, the consumers tend to follow the trends most of the time. So is it sustainable, the consumption or the production, addressing the issue? So if you take the issue as the air quality or the air pollution, so the production is there to address the issue what we face, or the consumer, or so the consumer market is created, the production is there with something. So however, from the production end and the consumer end, these are standardized and standardized approaches are there. However, when we look at the sustainable consumption and production, we have to think something beyond that. According to in 2019 World Environment Day, breathe easy with ISO standard on World Environment Day. So they have also promote the standard that they have published in relation to air quality. So just to get some idea, I have taken some of the information from ISO platform, ISO portal. Some of the content actually publicly available, publicly accessible. So what I have taken here, most of the components are from the public accepted publicly available portals, and some are actually can access from the people, the members from the different technical committees from any part of the world. ISO 140, ISO Technical Committee 146 specifically there to identify standardization of tools for air quality characterization of air emissions, workspace air. So this is actually the scope that they have given for the ISO TC 146 Technical Committee. So Technical Committee on Air Quality, this is the scope that they have given. They are working on indoor air, particulate measurements, measurements method on air pollutants, particulate matters, gaseous, odors, even microbe, or meteorological parameters on some aspects. So likewise, they have a scope and they are working on different areas. In here, at the moment, by now, they have already published 189 ISO standards, and they are working on, at the moment, about 31 standards covering subcommittees. Under their technical committee, there are 6 subcommittees. I'm just giving you some understanding, because now in simply, even anybody can go to the ISO website, and if you know the structure or the map of the websites, then we can go and search the relevant standard or the new development on ISO standards. So if you look at this air standard, the technical committee on air quality, they have 6 subcommittees. One committee is working on stationary source emissions. Another subcommittee is working on workplace atmosphere. So some working committees working on subcommittees working on ambient atmosphere and related measurements, how to do measurements and different technologies and different approaches to be measured. And also there are some general aspects and also meteorology, and also there's subcommittee recently established a subcommittee on indoor air. So likewise, they are working on that. If you look at these 189 standards, now there are a lot of effort to come up with these type of standards. Just to get some idea, I have taken few standard. Actually, there are about 51 standard under this indoor air quality already developed. The standard and or project under the directed responsibility of ISO TC 146 subcommittee 6. So in this red, near this red dot, red arrow, you can see the number of standard that they have produced. So just to get some idea, 12,000 series, 12,219 recently released interior air of road vehicles, part 1, all vehicle test chamber specification and method for the determination of volatile organic components in cabin interiors. Now, so if you look at this, so now they have identified some of the issues related to this is actually directly linked with the vehicle manufacturing and also the automobile part manufacturing. So they have to comply. Actually, this is a voluntary standards at the moment. So regulators can regulate these standards. Now, these are some of the areas they have actually identified. I have not, sorry, I have not included the rest of the standards. There are some standard that we can search. This is directly linked with the different standard in indoor. So some of the components are linked with the construction industry. So I have taken some of the standard from that sector. Generally, this is very common area of interest, and the climate change related approaches are there. Most of the lot of people are talking about this, and there are different standards are coming up with measuring the emissions. So these are most of the standards are what we call the management system standards. Some of the standards given here are directly linked with the production or manufacturing related standards. Some are not third party verified or the requirement standard. So some are guidelines. So likewise, if you look at the air quality related standard, there are a lot of standards. However, what I'm giving you here is the management system standards, where indirectly support climate change, air quality related issue. So if you look at the concept behind the climate change now, carbon trading and these type of concepts are also there to address these concepts. ISO have their own set of standards. Before the ISO come up with these standards, some other parties, they have come up with some of the standard, then they have liaised with the ISO, and they have come up with internationally accepted the standard like 14,064. This actually 14,060 series for the family is addressing greenhouse gas related standard for organization, for product, and also some are connected the carbon sequestration related projects. So this is in generally there are about in here about 6 standards linking to address the greenhouse gas management related issues. And very recently issued a standard on called 17029, that is actually the general principle and requirement for validation and verification bodies. So if you need to come up with some kind of a credible estimate, so measure related to a manufacturing or the production facility, to show that the consumer, you are actually you have a concern, the manufacturing facility have a concern about the climate change, and then to communicate it to consumer on that. So we need to have a credible approach of measuring. So the ISO is come up with this type of approach to come up with the standardized, credible measure to understand their contribution to the climate change. Actually, that is bad, but by knowing the contribution to the climate change, then they can think of managing or reducing their impact to the climate change. So these standards support that area. So however, I have included in the air quality, but it's not directly linked with the air quality aspect. However, if you look at the issues related to the climate change, which is key in sustainable consumption and even the production. So that is very important area that we have to discuss. And industries that they are using this type of thing to really, the industry can really address some of the issues related to climate change, addressing some related issue in air quality, and also they can communicate to the consumers that they are actually working towards that. So these are the linking, how we can link with this manufacturing of the production, and also with the consumers. So we have seen that most of the industries, especially, have taken one example, not to promote, but if you look at the apparel manufacturing industry, the consumer demand, consumer pressure is there. With the consumer awareness, looking for environment friendly products. So one of the key area, consumers are aware in the climate change. So therefore, the manufacturing facilities are now moving towards to disclose or show the commitment towards climate, addressing climate change issues on due to their activities. So though they are not regulated in countries like us, so we have seen that the vast penetration of these type of standards or the concept or accepted by the industries. That is because of the consumer pressure. If you look at the second component of water and sanitation, key 10 key policy statements are there. So if you look at all these, and also it's linked with the according to the policy document, they have connect with two SDGs, clean water and sanitation, and also the life below water. So if you look at ISO, how ISO engage with this, engage to address the issue related to water, to around 40%, according to their information, around 40% of the world population doesn't have enough water. And water is also an international resource and challenge rivers, lakes, cross-national boundaries, while droughts and climate change affect us all. So when they come up with the standards, they focus on all the aspects. ISO standards offer harmonized technology and terminology, allowing the countries sharing the same water resource to work together efficiently. So standardization on areas we are working in generally on water, and also ISO standards cover almost every water issues. from pipes and irrigation to water quality management and sanitation. So all the aspects are covered, or the areas are covered in ISO standards. If you go through the standard technical committees and subcommittees, and their standards already developed, so we can see that all the areas are covered. And also ISO standards represent consensus on practical solution and best practices for sustainable water management. So that is directly linked with our sustainable consumption and production and they have a set of standards addressing directly and indirectly this. So if you look at the benefits from ISO standards, generally industries and also regulators can use these standards if they need to come up with regulations. So in Sri Lankan context, through experience, we have seen that even though they have very comprehensive standard developed with the considering all the aspects with the international technical experts addressing one particular issue. So standards are there, but the use of these standards to address some of the issues, even through coming up with regulations or taking that framework to promote, it's somewhat lacking. So the regulators can use these standards to come up with regulations. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. If you look at all the set of standards developed, so regulators in any part of the world can use these standards to come up with regulations. And also, as national standard body, can adapt or customize to Sri Lankan context if we need. If you see that these standards are not matching with the other context, so that flexibility provisions also there. And also the consumers can have can assure what they consume coming through whatever the processes or the products related to water, if they comply to the standards developed by it. And if you look at related sectors covering ISO, water quality, water footprinting, that is virtual water, and hydrometry, the drinking water quality, wastewater quality and the treatment approaches, and irrigation related issues, infrastructure development on water, piping, valve, and also measurement of fluid flows, water reuse. And these are the key areas that ISO standards for the technical committees been already covered and come up with standards. So if you look at the general simplified the pictograph of the use of a different technical committee to address different areas. If you look at some of the numbers, out of total of more than 21,300 standards developed in ISO, more than 1,200 related to water. So if you look at all these technical committees, they have developed standards related to almost all the areas that we need to cover or the standardized in using water, addressing environment related issues and the health related issues, and also the resource conservation related issues. If you take one subcommittee, technical committee 147 on water quality, that is only one technical committee. Then their scope is to standardization field of water quality. So there are about 322 standards be published. If you look at the subcommittees that they are working on different areas, which is the standards are the standard that they have developed. It's directly linked with directly address some of the issues that we are seeing even under the consumption, the production of if we focusing on the sustainable production and the consumption in promoting SCP. So one good example, however, there's no direct standard, but there are series of sets of standards are there. Even we can, if we can comply, there are some standards. If we can comply to those standards, we can convert sewer to drinkable water. So it's been proven with the Singapore. So this new water. So you can search in the web. Actually, they have come up with the drinkable water from sewer treated by different technologies, complying to drinking quality standards. So in this process, if we think of converting this sewer to drinkable water, so we just cannot have some kind of a technology to use and to come up with some kind of end product. So we have to go through series of testing and checking the qualities of complying to certain standards. Those standards are there with under this ISO standard. So however, in this case, actually they have the customized, so they have gone something beyond some standards developed by ISO. However, the standard framework, or the framework developed to address some of the issues in that type of processes are there with these ISO standards. And if I take another one example, guidelines. So there's a standard 16075 part 1 published in 2015, guidelines for treated wastewater use for irrigation projects. Part 1 is the basis for reuse project for irrigation. So now if you look at any of the aspects, actually I have taken some of the key standards out of almost 1,200 standards. So we have some of the already developed guidelines. These standards gives the guidelines. So therefore, we don't need to worry. We don't need to spend more time, or we don't need to invest time on developing separate guidelines. So we can directly use this guideline, only thing that we can customize. And this standards, series of standards, actually this is only one, 16,000 series for 16075 series of standards covered and support converting wastewater for irrigation projects. And also 14,046, that is environment management related standard, water footprint. This is actually the standard to address actually the outcome of the standard. If you look at these the images, so you can see that coffee, there are 140 liters of water, or leather shoe pair, 16,600 liters of water. This is a kind of yes, I will go through in the other areas also. We have the 6 minutes. So likewise, we have a lot of standards to address these things. Now, virtual water imports, export are currently people are talking about. Not just when we looking at the consumption patterns, we use these type of label to market things. So likewise, there are a lot of other standards, and also now through the standardized approach, we can go up to water neutrality kind of a concept. Industries are with these standards. Industry try to do something better, better within their system, and also with implementing some of the things. So they try to get some kind of the competitive advantage by promoting these type of best practices that is linked with the consumption, so that the consumer group will capture these type of initiatives. If you look at the energy, there are large number of technical committees addressing all type of energies, especially related to our sustainable consumption and production. The technical committee 301 energy savings, they have come up with actually these are series of standards, 17,741 series, general technical rules for measurement, calculation, verification of energy saving projects. So we have technical guidelines for that. If you are if our industries need to calculate the technical the energy savings, so we can use these type of standards. And also this is a somewhat popular standard, 50,001 energy management system. This is actually the requirement standard, and we can go for third-party verification to develop a system in an organization. And also, if you look at the 50,049 released in 2020, calculation methodology for energy efficiency and energy consumption, variation at country, regional, and city level. So this is this type of the standards can be used to assess, estimate the energy efficiency in different levels, not limited to organization. There are another set of standards, and going beyond that, we need country, region, if city level, if you need to monitor the energy consumption, energy efficiencies, so we have a standard that we can use. And 50,001 linked with the different standard, I'm not going to go through. And if you look at waste, there are about under the technical committee 207 environment management, there are 7 subcommittees working on environment management systems, environment auditing, labeling, performance evaluation, LCA, greenhouse gas management. So under that, they have already published about 57 and working on 18. So if you look at 14,001, it's more familiar standards, management system standard, which is support to directly and indirectly to address waste related issues in organization and even in the communities. And also there are new set of standards developed under the new technical committee, waste collection and transportation. They have realized, identified that there are some issues even with transportation. So therefore, they have come up with a new set of standards to give guidance to have more sustainable and environment friendly transport mode. And also a part of this ISO standard, there are different standards are there. Some are third part can be verified, and some are accredited, can go through some of the accreditation also. These are some of the popular standards. The label, all these labels are coming through complying with some of the standards. Zero waste to landfill. So Brandix, they have come up with their own self-disclose standard. So likewise, there are different type of, this is actually in Sri Lanka, the first zero plastic neutral product complying with the plastic waste reduction standard from VERA. So, and at the moment, VERA is liaising with the International Accreditation Forum to come up with the new ISO standard. And this plastic neutral plastic credits are new, these are new concept. Now ISO also working on come up with the internationally recognized, so all accepted, anybody can accept the standard that anybody can accept. So these are some of the areas, and it's like somewhat similar to carbon credit. It is very well established. So following some of the key principles, this plastic credit schemes also developed. At the moment, there are no ISO standard. However, with the recent development of 17029 standard, these kind of concept can be third-party verified, considering the standard developed by any party. Procurement is also linked with the there are standards on addressing waste management. If you look at the industries, there are a lot of areas. Going green is there are a lot of support from different standards. Recognition, certification, or the labeling is key when we think of industries to going green. To promote these initiatives, what they do in industries, there are a series of standards coming under 14,000 family eco-labeling related standards. There are different types of eco-label, which is the front end that it's communicate whatever the best practices or the product quality related or the environment claim related to product or services on the process. So through this type of standards. Now, standardized approach is there to minimize the greenwashing of the product manufacturers or service providers. So these are some of the standard which is directly linked with the organization. They can use industries, manufacturing or service providers to show the environment sustainability on different areas. And also ISO, if you look at some of the literature, they have identified this is directly linked with the cleaner production. We have seen that very clear relationship between cleaner production and 14,001. These are supported very much. And also 14,001 is not only for the large companies, this is for small and businesses also there. So likewise, there are a lot of areas even under this ISO framework supporting the areas where address to make industries more green. So global reporting initiatives are another set, set of standards not coming under ISO. However, 14016 is supporting some of the reporting, even comply with the global reporting initiatives. Food, so there are large number of standards coming under the food sector. Food safety related standards, and so as we have not more time, as I will actually just to give some idea about that, the moment Sri Lanka also working on this organic related standardization. We know that we have regulation on organic, and also there's a standard developed by SLS standard from Sri Lanka Standard Institute, and there's a, if you look at the process of complete standardization on that type of area, so there are a lot of other ISO standards are linked with. Testing has to be accredited through certain standard, and inspection certification has to be accredited to a certain ISO standard. So going through this standardized process, only if this regulated organic certification can be obtained from any producer related in the supply chain of the agricultural product from the producer to consumer. So there are different types of standards. ISO standards are there in this process. So if you look at the building and construction industry, so there are large number of standards are there supporting the building environment. So the environment quality, environment performances, there are a lot of standards are there to support the construction industry. And also this is there are about 30 of the standards I've just gone through, because if you look at the indoor air quality, I have, as I mentioned previously, it's linked with, it's actually developed under the building related standards, ISO 17081-5-14. So air quality of buildings related to human occupancy. So likewise, if you look at all the areas, all the aspect of construction or building, designing and development, standards are available. And also the sustainable cities and communities, one of the key area in sustainable development agenda also. So there are series of standards dedicated to address those areas developed under Technical Committee 268. Transportation, there are different type of, if you look at transport the Technical Committee, the transport sector, there are 11 subcommittees are working on different areas. So all these areas are to certain level support to have more good quality transportation, and this is actually important. The road traffic safety management system developed under Technical Committee 241, ISO 39001 road traffic safety management system, and also 39.002 road traffic safety good practices for implementing commuting safety management. So these are some of the areas where we can address in transport sector to make to have more sustainable and user-friendly transport sector. And also this is also linked with the climate change. Standards are there to have carbon neutral transport fleet, linking showing the commitment to climate change. So if you look at the tourism industry, there are under service sector, there are 12 service sector. Under that, we can see to Technical Committee 228 tourism and related services. Under that, there are about 39 standards being published already. There's a working group, number 13, they are dedicated to sustainable tourism related standards. And also this is directly also related with the tourism industry. 21401 2018 tourism and related service sustainability management system for accommodation establishment. It's very comprehensive standard framework anybody can implement and use when they develop accommodation establishment. And also ISO 20001 sustainable events. To have events, there's a standard. If you implement ISO 20001, it gives the framework to have a more sustainable, environment-friendly event. So likewise, there are a lot of other standards to address hospitality and tourism industry also. And if you look at the health sector, the last sector in the SCP trust team, there are 26 subcommittees are working on different areas. So there are large number of standards are already developed and developing to address the issues related to health sector. Finally, some of the standards developed by ISO standard, ISO are almost all the standards are voluntary. Some standards require third-party verification. When we go through the third-party verification, the accreditation is required to certain areas. So in as Sri Lanka Accreditation Board, at the moment we are also working with the ISO standard, ISO 17011. That is an international standard for all the accreditation board. So we have to comply with ISO 17011. And also there are the few accreditation schemes that we are doing accreditation. Laboratories, there are a few standards, testing and calibration laboratories, medical laboratories, which is directly linked with the health sector, and certification bodies. So when we do the accreditation, we have to comply with the ISO standards, and inspection body. standard and also greenhouse gas validation and verification body that is linked with the now transform into a new standard called 17029, which covers not only the greenhouse gas related or the environment related claims. So that is very generic overview about how the standards are linked with. With that, thank you very much. If you have any clarifications, we can have the discussion. Thank you, and sorry for taking a little more time.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wahala. Thank you very much. This is a very informative and very useful presentation. In fact, you have taken a new dimension to our discussion. Is very important, and also what you have done. You have given a new meaning to our policy as well. Bringing all these things and linking up with the standard. So it is a very useful presentation. Hope you could share this presentation with us so that this will be very useful for our work. So so thank you. While thanking you again, let me now invite maybe 2 or 3 questions since we are running short of time. Now the floor is open. If you have anything to clarify or the question, comment, please do so.
May I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Yeah. I think Dr. Wahala, thank you very much. It's very, I think something I never expected. So many standards, and in this area we are working, but almost every I think aspect there is a ISO standard. Unfortunately, all these standards are not adopted by SLSI. So and probably as a result of that, most of us are unable to even look at the standard. The cost is so high if we try to get this standard. Any mechanism to get this, systematized through SLSI?
Yes, Mr. Piris. At the moment, as chairman of SLAB, in my council, DG SLSI also there. So in SLAB, we have initiated identifying some of the areas to promote with our regulatory bodies. So at the moment, actually, we have identified closer to 30 standards, and we have requested formally to SLSI to adapt. So and also, as we clearly mentioned, Mr. Piris now, that we have actually having a discussion because I cannot comment anything on behalf of Sri Lanka Standard Institution, because they have to incur a cost to adapt standards. So, however, that is their according to the Act also, they have to adapt the standards. So the process of adapting is based on the request. So we have to justify the need, and then we can request SLSI to adapt, then they can adapt it. So all the closer to 30 standards are already adapted. And also at the moment, we are preparing another list of standards. And also we would like to invite you all also, if you are working in a different area, especially at the moment we are working on looking at the areas where we can promote standardization, then accreditation, because we are coming at the 3rd level, adoption and the promotion of the standard and the accreditation if required. So even though we are at the 3rd level, we are now started promoting some of the standards. That's why we are actually having a series of webinars, awareness webinars. Very recently, we have conducted one webinar on this is the biobanking standard. That is, yes, biobank related standard, because that is for laboratories working on biological materials. Likewise, and next at the moment, actually, we are working with the anti-bribery standard, and also we are working on education management system standard 21,000 one standard. And also we are now at the moment, our one of the technical staff members are working on analyzing construction industry related standards. So therefore, once we come up with some justification and we see that we see a potential demand for this standard, then we can formally request SLSI to adapt, then they have to adapt it. So actually they have very positive response to the previous request. And also with that, with this forum, actually, if you are willing to promote some of this or the set of standards related to something, and also we are at the moment, personally, I'm working on analyzing the standard on tourism sector. So to promote tourism sector, the sustainability. So likewise, if anybody can volunteer to just to have analysis on the requirement, we can come up with the list of standard, then we can formally request from SLSI to adapt. I think.
Thank you, Dr. Wahala. There's a question from our Joint Secretary Chandima. She's
Yes.
asking whether ISO 2400 is adapted.
2400. That is on.
It's on sustainable procurement, sir.
It's not adapted yet. It's not adapted yet. Yes. So we can ask for the adaptation. Yes. And this is.
I think it is very important with our green procurement policy, because we want to encourage the industry sector also to
yes,
this.
Yeah. Ms. Chandima, if you can just request send us an email.
Yes.
To me, copying to director, giving very brief introduction of what at the moment what is going on with the ministry. So then we can communicate it to SLSI to adapt it. And that COVID standard is SLS standard. At the moment, we are working on giving accreditation for this SLS COVID management system standard.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? I think we should have a separate session with Dr. Wahala with our membership. I mean, not through a webinar like this. I think we have a special discussion with you. We will discuss among ourselves and have a discussion with you. As Mr. Senapiri said, I mean, we are not aware of the availability of such a vast number of standards, which are very useful, useful there.
Actually, this is actually my part of my work. Sorry, at the moment I'm working personally. I'm mapping all these standards. Actually, at the moment we have a memorandum of understanding with the Sri Lanka Sustainable Development the Commission, and with that, at the moment we are working on promoting anti-bribery standard, which is linked with the SDG 17. So, so likewise, even we can partner with this forum. Formally, if somebody can send us a request to have a discussion to promote standardization or to come up with some regulations, or the aware regulatory bodies related to standards, which is linked with the SCP policy. So that would be great. So we can formally have a discussion on that.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Wahala. We will take up this matter with our, the next board meeting, and certainly, that we will come back to you for future work. And maybe just one more question we can entertain before we conclude this session. So it seems that, of course, I'm sure, there must be a lot of questions, and we will have this the recording uploaded to our website, so the others could, and also Dr. Wahala, I think since we have, the notify this little late. That is why I think the attendance is a bit low. But I think when the recorded, the presentation is uploaded, other people also could benefit. So with that, may I invite again Professor Karu, our Joint Secretary, to thank Dr. Wahala formally.
Maybe can I take the opportunity?
Yes, please.
Yes. So Dr. Wahala, thank you very much. It was a very comprehensive presentation. Though there are a lot of content, as mentioned, probably you have to go through it slowly again. So with the presentation, if you, we have the recording, and also if you can send us the presentation, also we can, Mr. Senanaik, upload that also.
Yeah.
Because the information will be clear there.
Yeah.
So again, let me thank you, despite of your very busy schedule, actually agreeing to do this presentation today, and doing this presentation so that our members could be kind of informed of these important areas. And also, I will invite formally at this moment you to become a member of our forum. That will be very useful for the forum as well. So without taking very much of time of our members, let me thank Dr. Wahala again for doing this presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I will share the presentation.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night. Good night. Thank you, sir.
Good night.